now, baby, I'm sure. And I just can't wait till the day when you knock on my door. Now every time I go to the mailbox, gotta hold myself down. Yeah, 'cause I just can't wait till you write me a card.
Good morning. They always play this music in the hope that I will start dancing, but it's 9 o'clock and I won't. So how are you? Right, this live in here. The previous days people were sleeping, but I'm happy. Are you okay? Good. This is our final day here in FICOD. You haven't missed any speeches? You loved it? Any feedback? Right, okay. I will not insist. This is the final day of FICOD. We've been talking about talent, but today we'll be concentrating on the young people with talent. Around 25 years. We'll be talking about youngsters with talent in the digital content sector. There's plenty of opportunity here. The telecommunications agency has done a survey and estimates that 60% of companies consider that the new tendencies in the digital market will promote new jobs in this sector. Training will be key in the sector, in the industry, and according to the same survey, more than 70,000 students of vocational training and university students also are already studying these contents. We will have today 4 people. Luis is very, very young and he just missed his plane. He's somewhere between El Salvador and Madrid. Do you know him? Shall we call him? So he couldn't make it. But we have three leaders here in the industry. They will be talking about what they're doing. They will be talking about their own experiences and their own viewpoints regarding the technical studies and training. And I would like to, okay, is it God here? I know, this is the sound just. So if we manage to have an idea about how to focus our future, I will be happy. I hope that this experience can help you. Now they will come here, and this is how it goes. You'll be cheering them, we'll be throwing them objects. I'll introduce Carlos Baena, please give him a round of applause. Carlos Baena, please, can you come up? He's founder of Animation Mentor, a training school in California. He's been working in Pixar for 10 years. That's why he has his shirt, his t-shirt. If you work for Pixar, do you have to advertise them with the t-shirts? Well, this is something that I like. Are you still working for Pixar? Well, not really. I used to. I was working for them until August. Why did you leave them? Don't leave a job like that. Well, because I wanted to concentrate on a couple of personal projects. So I was working for Pixar for about 10 years until January 2013. And from then till August, I was working for Paramount Pictures in Los Angeles. Okay, you'll be talking about that in a minute. Are you happy? Are you happy? Oh yes, I am. This is important. You know, they all are suffering the jet lag, so it's we have to take advantage about his experience. Right. Next, we'll have Javier Burón. He's a founding partner of SocialBro. Please come up to the stage. He's been developing applications for Twitter in 2011. You see, they're trying to make us dance with this music. Okay, in 2011, you launched your most successful product. You've launched 8 products in total. Yes, that's. We had an idea, and we created a company. It's about 30 people working, and we had lots of mistakes. 7 mistakes actually. How old are you? 32. So it's my birthday today. So happy birthday! And with you're 32 and you've launched about 8 projects. You failed in 7 regular so-and-so, and the 8th is a successful one, yeah? So you have youth headquarters in London. Well, I'm based in London actually, and we also have another office in Cordoba. I'm from Andalusia, and my partner is from Cuba. So it's not a bad idea. You know, you have the headquarters at your house, and then another office in London. That's not a bad idea. Our next speaker is Rello. She's a researcher, postdoc in Carnegie University, and she's a founding partner of Cookie Cloud team. You're a linguist, are you? Why, for example, in Spain, we say in Spain she's a researcher with all these English words. You can't. You know, there are so many English words here. Yes, but I'm an IT professional. That was my background. Shall we start with you? Okay, Luz will be talking about her own experience, then Carlos, and then Javier. And after they talk, I hope that everybody can ask questions, so we have an interaction with all the public. So please think about questions for our speakers. So, Luz, you have the floor. So how long? About 5 to 10 minutes? 10 minutes, all right. Right, my experience, I'll tell you about what I've been doing in the past, present, and in the future. In the past, I studied linguistics. I did a master's in natural language processing, a mixture between artificial intelligence and linguistics. That's basically what it is, and we all use it when we write text, and there is a correction on the software, machine translation, etc. That was all the contents. Then I did a PhD in the Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, applying all the linguistics and natural language processing to make a program for people with dyslexia. What we did was to analyze reading from people with dyslexia and people without dyslexia. Well, dyslexia, first of all, I have to say that dyslexia affects about 10% of the population, and it's related to dropping out from the school. And what we're trying with our project is to improve the performance with those with dyslexia, because dyslexia is not related with intelligence and with IQ. To be honest, you know, you can finish your school, you can do anything. It's just how you perceive the reading and writing, basically. Okay, so what we said, now we have all the texts in a digital form, and we will see what can we change from these pieces of writing to make all these texts more accessible to those with dyslexia. We analyzed with eye tracking techniques all these texts with 200 people with dyslexia. We made a survey, and we analyze how they read the texts, extracting several patterns and finding results. What we did was to apply those into electronic applications. Some of these readers have about 35,000 downloads, etc., and applications for children as well. And this is what I've been doing until now, not only with the university, but also with some friends. We have the Cookie Cloud team with two of my colleagues. Right now, what am I doing? I'm living in the United States. I hope I can come back to this wonderful country sometime. And what we're doing is we not just try and help people with dyslexia before it's being developed. We're trying to detect dyslexia in the early stages through games or through the people's interaction with the computer, because what we found is that we could distinguish different target groups depending on their own interaction with the computer or writing or reading media. So this is detection of dyslexia. On the other hand, we're trying to develop correction because what is available in the market is not helpful for them, and sometimes you write a word and that word already exists, so this doesn't help them. So you write, for example, Santa Claus has given me something, and then and you write some funny words, but the autocorrection device in Word, for example, will not correct it because these are normal words. So the idea is that we try to develop this application that will detect words that are normal but are not in the usual context. We're also developing a chess application for those with dyslexia, because this activity helps them, and it's really related to language with all the intelligence and all the IQ. So we're trying to improve the language without using the language, basically going around doing other activities. And to be honest, this is what I'm doing right at the present, and I'll be happy to answer the questions, and so I'll be really happy. So please ask anything that you like to. Can you hear me? It's weird because we can't really listen to ourselves. Right. I'm the founder of a company called SocialBro. I'm an IT engineer, and I studied systems IT engineering in Cordoba and Granada. Finished my studies over there. I was working at the university and doing some research, working with my PhD or with my thesis. I was working for the university. I was an adjunct lecturer, and in this research department I met one of the co-founders of SocialBro, Alfredo Artiles, also an IT engineer, and in that department we were working in various projects. We had plenty of ideas, and we said, okay, we just becoming so rich with this and that idea, but they were just ideas, and in the end we tried to materialize them through a business. We didn't have any resources, financial resources. What we did is to start a consulting company and do projects for other people online shops, for example, developing websites, marketing online, many things. But working for another person was not something that we really liked, and all the money that we were getting was invested doing our own projects. And at the time we did several interesting things, but there was a point where Twitter turned up in our lives. We used the service of Twitter. We identified a few problems, and sometimes it's very difficult to know who you want to follow. There are some recommendations, for example, but I'm from Cordoba and I would like to know who's interested in marketing in my city. So we started to work on these 7 projects that I was talking to. All of them were geared towards solving that problem of how to decide who to follow in Twitter. And we decided that what were we going to do with the Twitter API, which is a tool to access all the tweets around the world. And we found that how could we do that? Just from our computer, find out who's working, for example, about cars or about anything, and we made a breakthrough. It's like that film with Jim Carrey, where he is on the clouds, like controlling everything like God. And we had the problem of finding the right people. We developed different browsers, search engines, to be honest, like Google, for example. And what we would do, we would provide the service, like people searching for certain people in Cordoba interested in automotive, and we would give them a list accordingly. One of the products that we was Follow Friday. It was a hashtag that was started in Twitter, where it was like every Friday from your Twitter account you would recommend other people. So for example, on a Friday I could say I recommend follow Luth because she talks about linguistics and semantics and she's cool. And what you do is you just follow Luth. So this tradition generated about 10 million tweets every single Friday. And for example, Barack Obama would do Follow Friday as well. This was a very powerful tradition in Twitter. And what we did was like, our goal was to solve the problem who to follow in Twitter. We started ranking by country, looking at the most recommended person, because maybe in Spain you would have a character, something like Rosa de España, or competing with a leader on Twitter called Llorento. So you'd be able to see all these, and it was really viral. Anyway, we had lots of Manchester United and Madrid football players, models retweeting their position in the ranking of Follow Friday. And that was the 7th project. And thanks to that, our Twitter community in that particular project, I think it was in 2010, we reached a number of about 60,000 followers. And many of them were very famous. And we were thinking how, well, they were saying, how can we monetize this Twitter account? And we replied, well, we need to know who are behind that account. We need to know who are my followers. There were no tools for that. And so we developed SocialBro to answer the question, who is my follower? Who are my followers, actually? And we started with this idea in 2011. We started a company based on that idea. We are 30 people currently. We have 2 offices, one in London, with 15 people, and another one in Cordoba with 15 people as well. In London there is marketing and sales, and in Cordoba we have the development side. And I'll tell you that our first employee, Leticia Poliso, was a journalist, and she was very helpful in generating viral content in our platform, and I think this is quite interesting because Leticia, she's a journalist and is quite related to this forum, and she was our first employee, and she was really helpful to boost our own application thanks to this, to her connection with different areas and industries. So this is to sum up what I've been doing up until now. Now in the future I'm looking, we're concentrating on the SocialBro, and we're trying to be more successful. So that's me. My name is Carlos Baena, and bless you. I'm an animator. I went to the United States in the 90s, and I've been living there, and I've been working for different studios for about 15 years, animation studios. In Pixar about 10 years. In ILM I was working for some of the sequels for Jurassic Park and Star Wars. In Pixar I was working on Toy Story 3, Monsters University, and Finding Nemo. Then I went to Paramount Pictures, and until a few months ago, to develop the content of films. And I was interested to come here because we have the animation mentor schools. In 2003 I joined with two other animators from ILM and Pixar, and our idea was how to provide contents of animation and training to those who were not couldn't afford to move to another country. In my case, I had to travel from Madrid to San Francisco. It was a cultural shock, a huge cultural shock. I had to change also in terms of language. My English was horrible, and that hasn't changed. And we created Animation Mentor. In 2003 we started a project, and we launched it in 2005. Our objective was that the professors and the students are in their own houses. It doesn't matter which country you are in. You can study animation from the professors that study animation in the schools right now. It was a bit difficult because of the technology and uploading huge videos. In 2003, when you had to change, the servers didn't like the huge amounts of data that we were supposed to be transferring. And we've been working for 10 years with this project, with the school, and every now and then we would think that the contents would need to go in a certain direction, but in the end students would be channeling the way that the course was going to be directed, and we were for example doing contents more, people would be wanted to do like Pixar, Disney, etc. Others would wanted to do like FX. Other people would be interested in animal creatures and animation for different films. So we've been splitting into different departments within the school. Right now I'm on a sabbatical because I would like to finish a couple of projects, of shorts that I started a few years ago. One of them is a real one, and the other one is a computerized project, and this is what I'm doing right now. So That's a little bit what I'm doing. Sorry, Carlos. Well, you just said nonchalantly, "Oh, I had a sabbatical." No, you've taken a whole year to do whatever you want to do, which is fine. Well, thanks very much to the three of you for your. And I would be able to ask you many questions, but they are not so interesting as the people's questions. So please turn on the lights, and please, can you ask any questions? Right here. If you're really shy, what we could do is we could use a hashtag FICOD 14. You write your question, you tweet your question, and then I could read it. You can do it personally, but if you don't want to, you can use this hashtag. And morning, thank you for coming. I'd like to ask very briefly, what's your idea of talent for each of you?
Should I be the first one again? Okay, let's go for it. So, talent. Well, I guess talent is a few things altogether. There's a set of several things. When you say someone is talented, you're talking about someone experienced, with knowledge, who's working and who's really willing to move on, to move forward. And when we talk about talent, we're talking about present and future, at least. That's what I believe. Yes, I totally agree with you. And well, you're asking about talent, and I have to say that I cannot speak about natural talent. And I think it's all related to what happens in your life. Ever since you're a kid, you're growing some motivation that helps you learn at a faster pace, especially when you're a kid. And then people end up saying you're talented. But from my point of view, it's not about having a natural talent. It's just a few things that make you talented because you've worked for a long time, and that's that helps you to become Mozart, for instance. Well, in my case, it's just about working a lot, long hours. And when you see your initial projects, the animation projects you do when you're at school, you need to fall in order to get up once again, to keep learning. It's not because you make mistakes that you're not talented. So this doesn't matter. You just have to move on. So I'm really respectful to people who are really stubborn, who keep on going, for hours, even if it doesn't work right from the start. They still keep trying. And when I started working in Pixar, they told me no, like 4 times. So the first 2 or 3 times, all the work I was sending them was really bad. And right now, I cannot show that to anyone. I don't feel really satisfied about my work. But in the end, if you want to achieve something, you will do it because of your passion. And then there's another thing as well. There's a saying in the United States, which is, they talk about the learning curve. And I've seen people gaining basic knowledge or advanced knowledge within a few months. I can see students who are just quick at grasping new ideas, and for other students it just takes a bit longer. but what matters is that you just get to the expected outcome in the end. That's the important thing, no matter how long it takes. And there's also a case, a Nobel Prize, I can't remember the name, but I remember that his students, about 7 students, became Nobel Prize winners as well. So we can see with this example that at the end of the day, it's this learning process is influenced by the motivation that someone will pass on to you, for example. And I'm also a lecturer, an associate lecturer at my university, and I have cousins who say, I don't like mathematics, for example, and I think we don't have to have this perspective. It's not that you're bad at mathematics, just that maybe your teacher is not good enough, is not motivating you enough in order to make you like mathematics. Well, it's basically about having knowledge plus passion, or knowledge plus motivation, as a brief summary. We can feel the passion in Luz. Okay, Santiago, thank you very much for your question. And then Silvia Prieto is asking through a hashtag. Maybe you don't have to speak, but you still have to, be accountable for your tweet. Okay, you're up there. Okay, should I read it, Silvia? Do you want to? Okay, Silvia is going to do it. They feel shy at first, but then it's all okay. Okay, Silvia, you were asking why should we change in the Spanish educational system to promote talent? So you believe that the Spanish educational system does not do that? Well, it's obvious that there is some positive cases, but what do you believe should be changed? Because you were talking about studying in other places, other educational systems. So how do you believe that the Spanish educational system should change? In what way should it change in order to motivate people to grow talent in people? I'd like to be the first one in answering that question. Okay, Luz. So yes, there's several ways to change that, and the more basic one is we need to know that not everyone learns the same way when you're a kid. People learn by reading, other people by doing things, other people learn by communicating, and there's in teaching centers or in schools, and I'm not talking about dyslexia here, but there's only a few number of kids who become motivated by the way teachers are teaching. So we need to find several paths, different paths, in order that everyone could learn the best way, for him. So we need to be more flexible. That would be motivating. We would motivate kids in schools. So that's as regarded for methodology. But then about contents as well. Contents are quite boring. I can see that with kids. How is it possible that kids are studying these kind of things? We need to match, knowledge or content with reality. So when you are learning something that you feel is useful, or let's imagine you learn mathematics relating it to what happens in Twitter, for example, or the way of creating a film like Toy Story 3, for example. That's another way of learning, and it's not only about how to learn, but also about the contents, how to make it more interesting. What happens in the world is really interesting, but you need to do the same thing, to have the same focus in schools. Yes, I can talk about when I was studying at the university. We need to bring it closer to the business world, and students You need to know what matters in a company, how everything works, and to start working in a company. So what you learn when you are at university, you can put it into practice in the real world in companies. So through internships, work placements, or saying, okay, I will start doing specific work to try to apply what I've learned, and the student has to be proactive if it's not included in the educational system. And I think things are improving in that sense. Usually universities are looking to companies a bit more than they used to, and well, that's what we have to do. So in the field of animation and movies, what we could notice, myself and my two partners, is that our own experiences at university, well, everything was boring, you know. We had a teacher writing on the blackboard, on the board, and they were trying to tell you about a 3D software, whatever this software was in the 90s. But I remember I was feeling really bored. I was learning about animation and getting bored. I had this teacher writing on the board, and now we will do open a file and take the file, and all the classroom was asleep. So you need to make it fun, I believe, and to get rid of the board, to get rid of the TV. We are animators, and we need to study people, to do some research, maybe go to a cafe and start recording people to study them. So we started doing that. We started to analyze people we knew, analyzing all the small face movements or gestures, and try to apply that to our animation exercises or papers. So it was all about making it fun. So we spent long hours learning things, and we had to make it fun. Then there's something else. It's about the value system in education. They value more some subjects, compared to others, and I don't know how you feel about that, but people I know, I just turned 30, and people who are studying things with a lot of job prospects, and well, they have a job, they're making a good living out of it, and we have to know that in schools they give a big value to mathematics and everything, and then in real life they have different values. So I believe that in the educational system we need to give a high value to different subjects, to everything, because everything's worth it. When you would get to a forum, people would say, just turn off your mobiles, and now it's quite the opposite. We say just turn it on and start tweeting about what's being said and everything. So we need to talk about that, Javier. Seriously, like we should have an application about main titles and about what's going on and. Two questions for Javier. Would you study IT again? And I think you studied in Cordoba, so how good was this education you received in Cordoba compared to the rest of universities in Spain? And then another question, I'm 35 years old, and I remember when I was working with tapes and with Nintendo, the Mega Drive, and now, well, I think it's incredible to make a living out of your hobby, and that's just wonderful. So for young people here attending this conference, I would ask you, what is the most gratifying thing in your work as a video games or animation developer? Is it easy? What opportunities do exist in Spain to start in doing the same work? So, regarding the first question, the most gratifying thing in my job, well, the thing is that I'm having a lot of fun every single day, ever since I started. And as I said before, I started studying law at the Autonomous University in Madrid in 1993. And quickly, when you're doing something you don't like, no matter the field, well, your heart will tell you it doesn't like that. So my family realized that. They realized I wasn't happy at all. I moved to the United States, and I didn't like computers at that time. The start of the 90s, between 90 and 94. I didn't see computers as something familiar to me, and then in 1995 I discovered Photoshop and other tools, and suddenly I realized I could have a lot of fun with my computer. And when I started working, I started with adverts, then I moved on to work in the movie industry, and I'm having fun every single day. That's the best gift I could get from the industry. And I can't remember the second question. Could you repeat that? Yes, opportunities to follow your same path in Spain. Where could students study in Spain? What is the best place to do that? Well, I guess I'd start looking for people already working in the industry, or maybe I would look for students with very good projects while they were studying, no matter the school, what the school was. And I do not recommend students to go to a specific school. No, we need to speak with students from different schools, and they won't lie to us. They will tell us about what works well in Animation Mentor, our school, and in other schools. So it's more about trying to gain knowledge out of other students, out of people from our industry, talk to them. And this last decade, internet became something essential to look for references in Google. Every movie, every video is available on YouTube. And when I started studying animation, I remember we had a VHS tape, and I will, watch this video like 1,000 times, and now you have everything available on YouTube. Internet is making everything more accessible. And I would tell them never to give up. They can't let anyone tell them what they can't do. I've been told that a few times in my work, in my job, and people would tell me, I can see you as an animator, and you can feel in different ways. You can get mad, or you can say, okay, that will fuel my energy to do what I really want to do. And if you have some doubts about if you're good at that, well, it doesn't matter. Just try, and you'll see if you like it. I don't know if I'm helping, but yes, totally. The important is the way, the path, and keep on learning. So, about the question if I would study again IT, well, I would say yes, absolutely yes. I'm thankful for living in that moment. We are just experiencing the beginning of the internet era. we will be part of history books in 40 years, and we will speak about that time when Google started, and we cannot imagine how big is the way forward. And it will be fun to see that, okay, we didn't live like 500 years ago, but we're living right now, where you can learn by yourself, you can become self-educated. And yes, I would study IT engineering again. And about how my university in Cordoba, I cannot say that it was really bad, but it depends more on the personal development of everyone. And I remember a nice anecdote, a short one. And I used to tell my first year students when I was teaching there, and I would ask them, so these were third year students, I believe, and I asked them if they could ask me how was one day in the academic year, right? So we spent a lot of hours at the university, and I asked them, what is the day you remember out of all your university studies? And they would tell me, I remember when my friend here fell from this chair, or well, when they were getting out of their comfort zone, when they were feeling nervous about a presentation. And this question popped in my mind because when I was studying, and so I was drinking with my friends at night, and we were talking about, do you remember a special day during your studies? And we were in our fourth year, and we couldn't think of any teacher telling us something big, something unforgettable. That was a bit sad, you know, and I thought they really need to get something out of this. So I remember that one of the messages that day is that the main objective when studying at the university is not only to pass our subjects, but it's also to find what you really want to do, because you might like a lot of things, but it's difficult to find something you're passionate about, something you can make a living out of. And if you find the answer during the 4 or 5 years of university, well, it'd be great. Yes, it's great to find something you like in life, you know. Anyway, yes. So I will ask you to be a bit more brief, because there's a lot of questions, so we need to answer all of them, as many as we can. So, okay, another question. Yes, my question is for Javier. I'd like to know, out of your experience as a student and as a teacher, what additional training is missing in the system, what kind of training you've seen in other countries, and you think that'd be useful in Spain. Well, yes, English is basic. English is a must. You really need to do everything you can to have a very good level in English. That's something you have to do. That's something that was missing, I guess. I am living in London, and my level in English is not good enough, I guess, but I think it's really important. It should be compulsory in university. I don't know how you could do that, but the problem with the internet right now is, I guess, that everyone has access to this content and everyone can learn. That's amazing, that's absolutely great, but there is some competitiveness, so anyone can learn the same things you're learning without going to the university. And at the end of the day, we need to be aware of that. and we need to learn other things such as language, English, right? And about other skills, we need to learn as soon as possible how a company works. But no matter your job posting, and the sooner you understand the environment and how your work will influence the company's business, no matter, it could be from a marketing point of view or a financial point of view, but this will be positive with your, for your daily work. You need to put into context what you do in your job,
Just a question. How many of you speak English fluently? Right. Okay, we all have to start studying English very fast. Please, just any hand. I'd like to know, because I'm very interested in any of you actually, because I'm a lecturer and I'm studying animation and I'm doing some internship of community. Now we're talking about young talent. Why, in spite of having great schools in Spain in the digital field, why do we always have this idea that everything good is out there? I had to leave for the States, and it was great there, and it's a shame because I learned so much in 1 year, much more than 5 years here in Spain. Interns in Spain here, I think sometimes are being kind of exploited. Why do you think that Spain is not exploiting that idea of young talent and also acknowledging their work in photography, in the fields of animation, etc.? Well, you could do it for free, but actually, maybe I think. Well, that's my question. Sorry, it was a very wide question, very open question. I insist. We have so many subjects and so many questions. Please be brief. I think this is cultural. We don't put a lot of value on ourselves, both for interns and for ourselves generally. And we also set our limits. When you go to the United States, for example, here you say, okay, I'll do a survey with 24 kids, and then you go to the state and they say, no, why don't you contact Disney? And you go, wow, well, actually I should do that. And so I think that's the idea, that sometimes we just limit ourselves in here. Right, I think if you shout out, we will be able to hear you. Okay, let's wait for the mic. A question for the three of you. We're talking about education and talent, and my point is, why is so much talent of our country outside of our country? Why don't we just fight for our things here? Is it because they just don't like us here? Is it because we don't? Because we have the right to do things here. There's millions of professionals, millions of schools in Spain, and lots of leaders in the industry that have left us. And well, there's a lot of talent here, but yes, normally once they get this push, they leave the country because life is much easier out there. Well, you can be talented and you can stay here. Well, sometimes we don't just leave. Sometimes they kick us out, to be honest. Well, I had a postdoc grant here, and I was just they denied it, and at the same time I got a job offer from the best university in my field without even asking it, and that was the thing. I would like to say, well, we have to leave Spain and go somewhere else, because there's no countries, to be honest. There's no borders right now. I've got to do these, and I have to go to this part of the world. I love my city, I love Cordoba, and I know I'll go back to Cordoba because my roots, my friends, my family are all there. But if I have to reach this point where I can work wherever I like to, and I cannot depend on anybody, and that's today it's possible thanks to the internet, then I'll go back to Cordoba and I'll help to the development of the industry in Cordoba. And I know it's a shame, but I always see opportunity. I don't think leaving the country is something bad. I think it's something very positive, because many of the people that are abroad, they are always thinking of coming back, and I hope that we can put all this knowledge back into the Spanish economy. Well, in my case, what I did was I left, and there were no studies in Spain for whatever I wanted to do. That was my main reason. I think it's been a huge change over the past 5 to 10 years in my industry. More questions? Okay, we'll just have 5 more minutes, and then we'll leave you. There are so many hands. Hi. My question is for Carlos. I'm very interested. What was your daily activity in the animation job? What was your motivation? Was it something that you loved, and how did you manage? What was it? Was it very hard to reach the point where you are now at present? Okay, just to summarize very briefly the whole life. Well, I like it. Well, I like it. I love it. I just said that because you're working in these big movies, these movies that you grew up with, and I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. I would wake up in the morning with a lot of enthusiasm to do stuff. I work. I can't remember the second question, but yes, about my daily activity. What you do in these animation studies, what you do is you show your work to the studio, to the managers, and they'll give you some feedback. They'll tell you what they like, what they don't, what you might want to consider changing. And the rest of the department, maybe the other 40 or 50 animators, also show their work, and that creates a healthy competitive environment. They would give you all these changes and comments and ideas, and you would go back to your own office to work. Sometimes this works, other times it doesn't, but I'm not sure whether I mentioned that before. I know that why did I end up in the places I worked? It's because I kept knocking many doors. I think 90% of places closed their doors because of visa issues, or maybe because they were looking for what I was offering, or maybe just for any other reasons. So I kept searching and knocking at different doors, and you can let that. You have to decide whether you're going to be let down by these, or you can just try and continue. If you have a target, you basically have to try to go and get it. Okay, we'll do a final quick round. Please, you have to answer with a headline. What's the easiest thing for somebody who does content? Well, the best thing is to know the users. What's the most useful thing for somebody who works in content? That was the question. Well, I agree with Luz. Imagination. For contents, no limits. Think outside of the box. That's what they say in the States. So don't set yourself any limits to create content. Carlos is with jet lags. You say you're talking about here in the States. You still think you're in the States. Okay, you're suffering jet lag. Well, my plane arrived yesterday at midnight, so I do. Marta, there's a few questions. Any more questions here? We have a couple of minutes. Hi. I'd like to know what was your breakthrough, that moment, very moment where you realized, right, I need to change something in my life, I need to travel, I need to go, I need to take some risk. When was that moment? Well, during my undergraduate studies, I found that there was something called natural language processing that didn't exist in Spain, and I thought, well, I have to go to Spain, to the UK, because they have a master's there, because I'm fascinated by robots and by all these robots talking and communicating, and that was my breakthrough, in my case. Well, I met my co-founder, Alfredo Artiles, from Cuba. I met him at the university. He was, well, we were about 20, in the mid-20s, and he said his salary was he was earning 20 euros, and he had been working for the States as a programmer since he was 13. And I thought, well, he's 1 year older than me, he knows a million things more than me, and he has to work for 20 hours, I'll have to work 20 hours a day and to be at the same level as him. So that was my breakthrough. I'm so happy, I'm so grateful to live in this era, and you have to be thankful and take advantage of all these opportunities. Well, in my case, there was something that I was scared of. Leaving Pixar, I was quite scared because it was very comfortable. I was having a great time, but I wanted to keep learning. So it was something like jumping out of ship and waiting for somebody else to carry you, or waiting for an island to land on. And but every time I've done this, it worked. I think there is a tweet from the Marketing Madrid school. They say, if you have an objective, go for it. Go for it. Go for your objective. Thank you very much. This is it. A round of applause to the three of them. And I'm sure that you know, why don't you just come up and talk to them face to face? So please don't be shy. You can approach them personally. Now we'll have the seminary of wearables in the Rome Hall, the e-skills seminary in the Bratislava, and the seminary of talent in the London Hall, second plan. Thank you.